Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to take a look at this image. I want you to think of the first thing that comes to mind when you look at it. How many of you are thinking about war? Feel free to raise your hands. Right, that's a fair assumption. But what if I told you that it could be made into something much more helpful? Here, something used for war has been turned into a tractor and helps till the soil. Something you saw as a symbol of destruction and conflict now serves as a tool for creation. Ladies and gentlemen, if there's one thing we know in our modern world, it's that we are still recovering from scars of previous conflicts. Our governments still bicker over minor issues and simultaneously build up massive armories of weapons and equipment as they do so. Our people arm themselves, especially in the Western world. And when our people go out to protest inequality, we're seeing them met by police forces which are more armed than some militaries. Take a look at this. On the right are police officers in Ferguson, Missouri. And on the left are actual US soldiers patrolling in Afghanistan. This is a scary sight. More and more we are seeing undertrained people handling overkill weapons. So we ask the question, how do they keep getting these? Why is it that our government seems to have so much extra weapons that they need to pass them down to the police force? And it's a simple answer. War is a business. Just like the food you eat, the clothes you wear, and the stuff you buy is. Weapons companies compete with each other, invest in ventures, and above all else, want profit. And how do you get that profit? You sell more of your product, even if that product is no longer needed. Take, for example, in 2016, the US Congress approved a bill for $558 million to go to an Ohio-based company to build more M1 Abrams tanks. Now, the Army had said for more than 5 years that they did not need any more of these tanks. But this project was still funded. The industry of nations used to be what helped fund the war effort. But now, it seems as if the war is being manufactured to support the industry. So how do we solve this? How do we stop these companies? Because we need to stop them, right? But it's not that simple. Because these companies are our influencers. The tech they make for war eventually becomes our peaceful progress. Take, for example, the moon. We sent people to the moon on rockets based off of Nazi missiles. So, we need to ask ourselves the question, if we cannot just scrap these companies, how can we make them better? How can we make them promote nonviolence? And much like turning a tank into a tractor, there are many creative options. The first aspect of these options are surprisingly in apparel. The average US soldier in 2001 was equipped with over $4,000 worth of non-weapon equipment. This includes anything from bulletproof vests, to helmets, to radios, to the boots, like the ones I'm wearing here. Well, another one of these aspects of apparel is food. This here is the MRE, or meal ready to eat. This is a combat battlefield type meal that is meant to give as much nutrition to a soldier as possible in a very short amount of time. And the government has so many extra of these that they literally have to put them into surplus before they expire. And these meals could easily be used to feed the homeless and the hungry. Think about it. First of all, they do not require water to make, so they can be given to people who have problems with pollutants in their water. Second of all, they are made to give a certain level of nutrients to people. And third, the government has so many of them that they can give away tons of these to more and more hungry people without being at a loss. The second aspect of apparel, as I said before, is actual clothing. Here's a picture of me from LSNepal. It's an event, for those who don't know, where we go and help our rural communities. Here I'm wearing a pair of combat pants and combat boots to stay cool while I help teach an activity. These pants are from the war in Iraq. This was, as we all know, an event that scarred the US nation and showed that wars were not altruistic. But here I have turned it into a tool to help volunteer and privilege the underprivileged. The second area is vehicles. And you may be surprised to know that of all things, these vehicles are the easiest to turn into nonviolent uses. Because, for one thing, most of them, like this, are just cars with more wheels. And for another thing, these tanks we see that we're so scared of have their origins in tractors. In fact, in 1951, there was a proposition made in the Soviet Union to make these tanks back into tractors to fight world poverty. And you may ask, aren't these vehicles too clunky to be used in agriculture? And despite their weight, the reliability, durability, and all-terrain tread nature of these vehicles makes them perfect for the agricultural world. All you really have to do is take the guns off. And finally, we come to guns themselves. In America alone, there are over 2 guns per person. And we don't know who does and doesn't own these weapons. And every time somebody steps up to try and fight this utter campaign of just more guns, they are shut down by companies dedicated to keeping gun sales up. And these gun sales keep going up, and it perpetuates this cycle of construction and selling and surplus and construction. So before we can fully disarm and really turn towards peace, we need to find uses for this surplus and cycle. The first thing we can do is we can completely repurpose them. We can disassemble these weapons and we can turn them into something new. We see this in many modern artists like Pedro Reyes, the man here, and others. They take a weapon, they take it apart, and they make it into a new thing. And the second option, we can use these weapons for their intended purpose and shoot things that aren't people and animals. Many forget that gunpowder for over 2 centuries has been used as a peaceful land-altering tool. And it's still used that way today. If you look at this image here, this is the Canadian military using artillery to clear out avalanches so it is safe for people to walk through the mountainside. And in fact, the inventor of dynamite, the man who was often seen as the creator of a tool of death that was used in the 2 world wars, was not only a staunch pacifist, but he was so dedicated to the pursuit of peace that is his face we see on the Nobel Peace Prize. Overall, ladies and gentlemen, I think it is important that we do not demonize our tools. Our tools are only how we use them. If we choose to use a weapon for evil, we are making it evil. But if we choose to turn a sword into a plowshare, to turn a tank into a tractor, we show not only that they can be used for better purposes, but we show that for humanity, we can turn our biggest mistakes into our greatest advantages. And we can turn our biggest horrors into our best chance at progress. Thank you.